Hi, friends. Back again. This time, I do want to just spend really short couple moments talking about the funny word that I alluded to in a previous video. That word is kakistocracy. And according to dictionary.com, it is defined as government by the least suitable or competent citizens of a state. Wikipedia actually adds unscrupulous as well as one of the definitions or one of the descriptions of the worst people that could be running a country or a state. So this is extremely relevant with regard to a few key nominations made by our president-elect. Um, and I'm not going to get into all the controversies and other issues around some of their personal lives. I've kind of heard from some focus groups that I paid attention to that stuff doesn't seem to resonate with people anymore. They don't care about a person's character. Um, Maybe that's going to be a whole video. Is me kind of reiterating my disappointment in my fellow citizens, but a large swath of them anyway. Um, but in this situation, I'm going to just talk about a few key folks that are sitting in extremely important jobs if they get confirmed and make it there. Um, so we'll start with Pete Hegseth. So decorated war veteran, um, experienced in the early stages of being an officer, um, educated in good schools, and has been nominated to become the Secretary of Defense. Um, so yes, he has all those things. Has military experience. Has virtually no management experience whatsoever, and certainly not at the executive level. Um, he's a weekend talk show host on Fox News these days. Wrote a couple of books. Has some pretty extreme views on how the military has devolved into something that he doesn't think it should be, which includes the ability of women to fight, to be in combat. Um, Something that the ones that are wanted to do. Nobody's forcing that. Um, but just kind of looking at his actual qualifications for a job of this size. The Defense Department has a budget somewhere in the neighborhood of $800 billion with a B. Um, and a few million employees between the civilian and military. His direct reports would be seasoned career generals, heads of their branches, uh, with worlds more experience in the military realm than him. Um, it basically would be just on the experience aspect of it. It would be like taking a barista at Starbucks and making them CEO. I doubt he even has a shred of insight into what that job actually entails. The Secretary of Defense. I don't, but I've heard from some generals talking about that. Generals that had a rotation in their career um, that put them in contact with the Secretary of Defense. Words that came up were executive presence, um, a calm steadiness, the ability to convey uh, grave words or discipline or whatever in a calm, steady manner. You'd feel them if you were in the room with them as someone of great weight in their how they presented themselves. Um, this certainly doesn't apply to this candidate. He's got all sorts of other things going on. Again, not going to get into that. People don't care. Character doesn't matter much anymore, at least not to enough people. So that's one um, that leans us towards the definite the kakistocracy that would become if this were allowed to continue, if he got confirmed. Kash Patel, head of the FBI, um, he actually has published an enemies list and vowed to go after him. This in and of itself should be disqualifying. In his actual previous government service, of which he has some, um, there were situations where he's got allegations of lying and almost getting a bunch of special forces types killed, or potentially. Uh, that's a pretty bad thing. Anyway, the fact that he's going in with a vendetta into an agency that is supposed to be nonpartisan, uh, the ultimate law enforcement for the United States, investigating and arresting federal criminals. This is troubling too. And then I will mention one other, which is Tulsi Gabbard, which is she's been nominated for DNI. It's a job that was created after 9/11, and it meant to coordinate the intelligence from the various uh, agencies in the government that have intelligence to provide on potentially terrorism and big ticket items like that. So it would be taking the CIA, foreign intelligence, and DHS, Homeland Security, FBI, Justice Department, any intelligence related information, coordinating that and presenting that to the president. The reason she's maybe not the best fit for this job, less on the qualification side actually, but she's publicly been an apologist for Assad, who was just overthrown by his uh, populace. This on the heels of him perpetrating a terrible massacre of his own people using chemical weapons. And she's also been described by Russians as their good friend. And yes, we're not in the Cold War anymore, but there is no world in which the Russians are still, from the government perspective of Russia, of which they're friends. There's still active operations to influence our elections. There's misinformation presented by Russia, exposed by FBI and other sources um, through their investigations. So being fairly friendly with those types of people in the international realm doesn't really promote confidence in the United States with our allies. There's a good chance that they'll just freeze us out and not share intelligence because there's a lot of people covertly working throughout the world that could be exposed by someone that maybe actually didn't have our best interests in mind that's sitting in that office. There used to be a concept, especially for government office, to avoid the appearance even of impropriety. That's out the window, but she certainly wouldn't meet that requirement. There's been lots of talk that she might not be able to pass a background check for a security clearance that would merit the kind of information she'd be handling. Anyway, those three, and I guess I'll just throw in a bonus. He's a little bit more of a mixed bag, but some of his staunch views are troubling, and that would be Kennedy for Health and Human Services. So some of the things he advocates is removing fluoride from our water. And his basis for that is unfounded and debunked long ago, back when we first started adding fluoride to water, and there were first few tests where the amounts put in the water were too high. Um, it's been a really good thing for oral health throughout my generation for sure. Uh, the snarky dentists among us have expressed a little bit of sarcastic glee over the fact that they'll get a lot more business as a result of it, um, but only for people that can afford to go to the dentist a lot and afford to take their kids there a lot. So there's that thing. His view on vaccines. Um, I know that's a big, hot, controversial topic, and it shouldn't be. There have been numerous peer-reviewed studies looking into the issue of uh, autism and vaccines, which is one of the things he talks about. That is not a thing. That is not, he'll say it in a simple soundbite. Ever since we were doing vaccinations, there's been a higher incidence of autism. That's the ultimate correlation is not causation argument, if anything. Um, they are not related. Populations are growing in that period of time as well, which would give us more autism. If it was a steady percentage of the population, I don't think there's really a known cause for that. So he has some troubling views. I mean, I'll say he as far as individual health, his views on corporate food production, I think they're not crazy. And prevalence, I've seen some analysts, poo-pooing the whole his anti-seed oil pitch. I don't think he's wrong there. So there's that. Um, he's a pretty fit looking guy. He's had some troubling health behavior in the past, and I think he's worked hard to overcome that in his personal life. Interesting workout videos of him in blue jeans and shirtless, but as a 70-year-old guy, he looks pretty good. And the time that I saw that was a fitness trainer that was kind of doing a breakdown of his workout and didn't have a lot of bad things to say. A few little tweaks here and there. Um, but he generally has a good workout. So he's not an all bad choice, but the places where he kind of strays from what the science would say are bad. Like if he were to make vaccines non-mandatory, um, we'd see prevalence of diseases that we haven't seen since before I was born, which was a while ago. Um, Nobody wants polio back. One of the safest things out there. I will add on the vaccine front. Um, there have been valid health concerns over vaccines. The biggest one that happened during my lifetime, I think it was in the mid to late 70s, they were using thalidomide as a preservative to keep them from deteriorating. That particular ingredient had a linkage, was studied and found to be could be damaging, and that was stopped. There are always a few people that have adverse reactions. And that may be a good time. This may be a good time to mention that from the government point of view, they have to consider the most good for the most people, the thing that protects the public health more. Which, if you have a 0.5% chance of something happening from a vaccine, that might be scary from an individual level. The individuals that are affected certainly would not be pleasant. From a public health perspective, the thing that those vaccines are meant to wipe out way worse than the number of people affected by the actual vaccines. So anyway, that's a perspective as well. And there we have it. There are other people. He's also nominated several just fine, capable individuals to do the different jobs. They might be ideologically aligned differently than me, but that's sort of the normal operating methods in past. You know, you'd lose your candidate would lose the election, and it would be like, oh well, you know, certain things are going to be a little bit different, but generally they care about governing, you know, in a reasonable manner. Um, and maybe their desired outcomes are aligned with everybody else's. You know, we want more people healthy, kids better educated, um, less poverty, and it used to be that the different sides of the ideological coin had different methods of achieving those things, or different methods they thought would work to achieve those ends. And that's fine. That doesn't lead to catastrophe. But we've elected in the burn it down crowd, and that's strongly evidenced by these nominees. And the senators are being strong armed um, to go ahead and get him through, get him in there. So we you know, as the Confucius curse goes, whether it really was said in a Confucius manner, may you live in interesting times. We're about to enjoy some interesting times. All right, last political one for a while. I've got a couple of other ideas to explore that might be a little more entertaining and fun. I just wanted to get that one out there because it is a funny word. Kakistocracy sounds funny. If you even stop there, it sounds funny. All right. Until next time.